In a small, picturesque kingdom nestled between rolling green hills and deep, shadowy forests, there was a legend that had persisted for centuries. The tale of the gold-crowned secret whispered through every cobblestone street, passed from one generation to the next. It was said that the crown, the symbol of the royal family's authority, held a secret so powerful that it could alter the fate of the kingdom. But only the reigning monarch knew the truth, and they were sworn to guard it with their life. Eleanor was only 22 when she ascended to the throne. Her father, King Harold, had ruled for decades, beloved by his people. But his sudden illness and untimely death left Eleanor unprepared for the immense responsibility thrust upon her. She had grown up in the shadow of her older brother, Arthur, who had been groomed for the throne before his tragic death in a hunting accident. Now, the weight of the crown rested on her slender shoulders. The day of her coronation was both joyous and somber. The townsfolk cheered as she walked through the grand hall of the palace, her golden hair catching the light of the crystal chandeliers. When the royal adviser, Lord Cedric, placed the crown upon her head, she felt its weight, not just the physical heaviness of the gold and jewels, but the burden of the legacy it represented. That night, as tradition dictated, Eleanor was summoned to the royal vault. The room was hidden behind a thick oak door reinforced with iron, accessible only through a key carried by the reigning monarch. Inside, the air was cool and still, and the walls were lined with ancient artifacts and scrolls. At the center of the room stood a pedestal, upon which rested the golden crown. Lord Cedric bowed and stepped aside, leaving Eleanor alone. "Your Majesty," he said, "it is time for you to learn the secret." Eleanor approached the pedestal with a mixture of awe and apprehension. As her fingers brushed the crown, she noticed a faint inscription along the inner rim, written in a language she did not recognize. Suddenly, the room seemed to shift. The air grew warmer, and the faint hum of unseen energy filled her ears. In an instant, Eleanor was no longer in the vault. She stood in a vast, golden field beneath a sky that shimmered with colors she had never seen. Before her stood a figure cloaked in radiant light. Though its features were indistinct, its voice was clear and resonant. "Eleanor," the figure said, "you are now the keeper of the secret. The crown is no mere ornament, it is a vessel of power. Within it lies the essence of the kingdom's prosperity. But this power comes at a cost. Should the crown fall into the wrong hands, it could bring ruin." The figure extended a hand, and Eleanor felt a surge of knowledge flood her mind. She saw visions of past monarchs, each one facing challenges that tested their strength and wisdom. She saw wars averted, alliances forged, and the kingdom flourishing under their rule. But she also saw the darker moments, betrayals, greed, and the devastating consequences of misusing the crown's power. "You must protect the secret," the figure continued. "Use the power wisely, or risk the destruction of all you hold dear." When Eleanor returned to the vault, she felt as though she had aged years in mere moments. The crown in her hands was no longer just a symbol of her authority. It was a responsibility that demanded unwavering vigilance. In the weeks that followed, Eleanor threw herself into her duties. She studied the kingdom's history, consulted with advisors, and traveled to every corner of her realm to understand the needs of her people. But the knowledge of the crown's power weighed heavily on her. She found herself second-guessing every decision, fearing that a misstep could unleash catastrophe. Her closest confidant was her childhood friend, Sir Edwin, who now served as the captain of the royal guard. Though she could not reveal the crown's secret, Edwin sensed her struggle. "You carry a great weight, Eleanor," he said one evening as they walked through the palace gardens. "But you don't have to bear it alone. Trust in those who care for you." Eleanor nodded, though she knew there were parts of her burden she could never share. Still, Edwin's unwavering loyalty gave her strength. Trouble came in the form of Lord Alaric, a powerful noble with ambitions that extended beyond his estate. Alaric had long coveted the throne and saw Eleanor's youth and inexperience as an opportunity. He began sowing discord among the nobles, spreading rumors that Eleanor was unfit to rule. When Alaric's schemes escalated to an attempted coup, Eleanor was forced to act. She called upon the power of the crown, invoking its ancient magic to protect the kingdom. The air around her crackled with energy as she stood before her enemies, the crown glowing with an otherworldly light. Alaric and his followers fled, their rebellion quashed. But the use of the crown's power came at a price. Eleanor felt a deep weariness settle over her, as though the energy she had summoned had drained her very soul. She realized that the crown's power was not infinite, and that each use came with consequences. In the years that followed, Eleanor ruled with wisdom and compassion. She used the lessons of the crown's secret to guide her decisions, always mindful of the balance between power and responsibility. Under her leadership, the kingdom flourished, and her people grew to love and respect their young queen. As she grew older, Eleanor began to prepare for the day when she would pass the crown to her successor. She chose a young, promising noble named Clara, who reminded her of herself in her youth. On the night of Clara's coronation, Eleanor led her to the vault and revealed the crown's secret. "The power within the crown is a gift," Eleanor said, "but it is also a test. Use it wisely, and it will guide you. Abuse it, and it will destroy you." Clara nodded solemnly, accepting the weight of the legacy she was inheriting. As Eleanor watched her successor don the crown, she felt a sense of peace. The secret was safe, the kingdom was strong, and the future was bright. The golden crown, with all its mystery and power, had found its next guardian.